Being a mompreneur isn't just about juggling tasks. It's about showing up fully for your family and your calling, even when life feels messy and unpredictable. What if the key to thriving in both motherhood and business isn't doing more but embracing present, flexible, and the power of everyday moments? Today, we're diving into real talk about building a business while raising little ones and how choosing grace can transform the way you lead, parent, and live. Welcome to the Peaceful Mompreneur. I'm excited to introduce you to my guest, Jessie Kinsey. She's a pediatric speech therapist, toddler mom, and parent coach. She's the founder of Simple Speech Therapy, a growing practice based in Orange County, California. Jessie works with families of babies and toddlers who are just beginning to communicate, as well as with autistic children who benefit from individualized, connection focused support. Through play based therapy, parent coaching, and practical tips shared on Instagram, she helps families feel confident supporting their child's language development at home. Welcome, Jessie. We're so happy you're here.
Hi, thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Good, good. Okay, so as a mom, you have two little boys, or I don't know how old they are actually. You have two boys, and you're a business owner. So, how has God shaped your view of success, and what does that look like in this season of raising little ones and running your practice?
Yeah, so I do have little boys. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. So they are little, and I am just in the thick of toddler and babies. And I love it. And a huge reason that I went into business for myself and I've created the flexibility and the life that I get to live now is because I really want to be present for them as much as possible. And I didn't necessarily want to have to leave them, which everyone looks different and everything looks different, but I was just really grateful that I didn't have to leave them, that 5 days a week, 9 to 5 job. Um, I was able to create something where sometimes I can get a little bit of work done when I'm home with them. Sometimes I can work on a Saturday and my husband's with them. And so we're able to just create this flexible schedule that I was really searching for while my babies are so young.
Perfect. Okay. So I know that you talk a lot about the power of everyday moments in language development. And so, in light of, having littles, and that's what you do, mostly it's with babies and toddlers. So, how can the mom who feels overwhelmed or stretched thin still be intentional in these small moments?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that so much great language teaching comes in just those everyday moments. You do not need to add on to what you are already doing because we're already doing a lot. And so, what I really like to focus on is like, how do we build language opportunities into our daily routines? And daily routines are things like breakfast, bath time, diaper changes, getting in the car, getting out of the car, those things that you are going to do every single day. Anyway, let's just add on some language strategies to make it a little bit more meaningful. So what I always like to tell families is, we'll take bath time as an example. What I love for you to do is just be intentional with your language during those times. So if you have a baby or a toddler, using short, simple phrases that you're repeating every single bath time is really where that magic happens. So turn on water, turn off water. Let's make bubbles. Pop the bubbles. You can talk about body parts as you're washing, and you can be silly about it and fun with it. But really, just anytime that you can kind of be at your baby's level, your toddler's level, you're modeling that language. That's where, like I said, that's really where that magic happens.
That's wonderful. So, for someone who doesn't know, what is a language strategy? I heard you using that word or the phrase, and so just let's explain it to anybody who's listening.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? And I probably use it without even thinking because I live this world. But language strategies are just those things that we can do that are going to help our little ones learn language a little bit easier, potentially a little bit faster. So, language strategies to me are, like I said, using 2 to 3 word phrases. Instead of just kind of like a long narration, like turn on water, turn off water. That's a strategy that helps our little ones kind of start to learn and understand language and then feel a little bit more confident using it. Another strategy I really like is verbal routines. This is one of my favorites. It's when you use phrases like ready, set, go. That's something you might say all the time, right? Ready, set, go. But what I like to do is use a phrase like that and use it all the time. But as you're using it, you start to actually leave off that last word. So, like, say I'm playing ball with my little one. I might like ready, set, go, and I'm going to roll the ball forward. And I'm going to do that a few times. And then I'm going to say ready, set, and I'm going to hold that ball and I'm going to wait. And I'm just going to give my toddler a chance to actually say that word go. So they know, hey, mom always says ready, set, go, ready, set, go. And you know what? Now I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident. So when she says ready, set, and she pauses and she waits, I feel like I'm going to try it. I'm going to say go, and that's a really great tip to just kind of get some of those first words in.
Okay, wonderful. So is there an age that you should start doing this, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, so there is. I have a 6-month-old. I'm not going to use verbal routines with my 6-month-old. He is not ready. But I will use verbal routines when my little one is getting close to a year mark, definitely over that year mark. Really, these strategies work from right around a year, these strategies to really get your toddler talking, like verbal routines, right around a year until they've really started to build up their vocabulary on their own. Um, and then for little ones, before they even turn one, I have kind of different strategies that I like to use.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anyone for little ones that you like to use? Like, what's your favorite? You said like verbal routine is one you like for older kids. Like, which one do you like for little ones? Little itty bitty ones, I guess. They're all little.
Yeah, yeah. I know they're all little. They're all
Yeah.
cute. They're all little. Um, for our little ones though, so like for my 6-month-old, I really like to echo what he's doing, which sounds kind of silly, but if they coo, you coo back. If they start saying mama, mama, you say mama, ma back. It really starts to teach them like, hey, I say something, she says something. I say something, she says something. We want that back and forth kind of conversation.
Mhm.
And that starts really young. Um, so that would probably be one of my favorite tips. And then for little ones too, I also like to introduce some baby signs. That can be a great start to communication.
Okay, and so when you say some baby signs, so some people are like crazy about it, right? And so like when we did it and we loved it, so when you say some, is there like I guess it's not a magic number, but like a, a smart number. How about that? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think you can learn a lot of signs and implement a lot, but I don't think you have to.
yeah.
My favorite, I have about 9 signs that I really like. Really, I think that you can do so much with 3 to 4 signs. So don't feel like you need to learn a ton of signs and implement a ton of different things. I like to use baby signs that are simple, they're very functional, and they can be used in lots of different ways. So, like using the sign for open and more and all done might be a really great place to start. You only start with 3 and use those consistently. That's going to be a lot more effective than maybe trying to sign lots of different words throughout your little one's day, especially if you're not really confident. If you are familiar with ASL, I say go for it.
Right.
But if it feels a little daunting, if you're like, oh, I don't want to add one more thing, start with 2, 3 signs and just go from there.
Wonderful. Okay, so do you think that, okay, just talking about the sign language, because I've heard it, that you can start communicating with your children earlier than they can actually start speaking. Is that true?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So our little ones are going to get those gross motor, those motor skills earlier than they're going to get those verbal skills. So our babies understand more than what they're able to say.
Mhm.
And so signs are kind of our way to give them that ability to communicate before their body is ready for them to start talking.
I love that. Yeah. So I thought that, like we did it. I was just making sure. Like I'm pretty sure he's talking to me, but that's fun. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about this communication. So can you explain like the connection between communication early on and speech delays, early communication strategies and preventing speech delays? That's what I meant. I don't know what I read, but that was not the question. You know what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of actually why I um, started doing some parent coaching around getting your toddlers talking and teaching baby sign things like that is because I was seeing in my therapy consistently these really awesome kiddos and these amazing parents that just didn't quite have the strategies earlier that would help their little ones start talking. And so they ended up in speech therapy, which is not a bad thing. Speech therapy, especially for little ones, is super fun and great. And if your kiddo needs that support, absolutely go for it. But what I realized is like, hey, I can kind of back up here and I could teach parents these strategies a little bit earlier. And one, I'm going to help get them communicating. Two, I'm going to help cut down on some of that frustration that comes from not being able to communicate, hopefully reduce some tantrums and things like that, meltdowns from your little one. And three is maybe then you won't need speech therapy in the future. And that was really my whole goal.
Yeah, I love that. And so I've heard it said that a lot of what our little ones, why they're so upset, is they have all these feelings and emotions and they can't communicate those things. And so, from your experience, is that true? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
Okay.
nodding and you can't see me. Yes, I do think there's such an area, and honestly, you're gonna have those meltdowns and those communication mishaps no matter what, because they're just starting to learn how to communicate. But yes, our little ones get frustrated when they want something. They know they want something, but they can't tell us yet. And so we might guess and we might get it wrong, and then they're gonna get upset. So being able to communicate through early signs, being able to communicate through words, as early as possible is going to help those communication breakdowns, when they want something and we don't know what it is. Now, if, my 1 year old can tell me he wants milk, that's amazing, right? Then I'm like, oh, cool, you want milk. Let me go get that for you. Instead of them crying and whining and trying to point and figure it out and play that guessing game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's a mom, if she's concerned that her toddler isn't talking yet, what encouragement would you offer for her, both professionally and from your personal experience?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I would say it is not your fault. So many parents, and I get that because as a mom, you put everything on yourself. But it is not your fault if your little one is not quite talking yet. A couple of things that I would say is one, using some of the strategies I'm sharing on this podcast, using a couple of strategies, you can really start making a big difference right at home in your everyday daily routines. And also talk to your pediatrician. That is why they are there. And they're a great go to. If you're like, you know what, I feel like my little one is, 18 months and they don't have any words and I'm starting to worry, talk to your pediatrician and they can help point you in the direction of, more support if you need it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So we're gonna switch gears just a little bit. So you raise little kids, you have this practice, and so you're obviously juggling a lot of things. So in your personal life, like you have found yourself, what boundaries or rhythms have helped you yourself be able to do both?
Yeah, it's not easy, but it is doable. I will combine my business and my family and everything together when I can. So yesterday I'm have a new office space that I'm opening, and we had to get some, design like furniture, all that stuff. And so I was able to take my two kids with me to that meeting, which is beautiful. They could play in my office and hang out and kind of follow me around as I'm figuring out these steps. So when things like that happen and I can kind of combine the two, that's always really great. And it's always been my goal to like bring them along with me when I can. And then I also just have really clear boundaries at home. So when I am home, I want to be really present with the time that I have with my boys. And so that means setting my phone in another room. It means not checking emails, which can be so, so tempting. And so setting those boundaries for me. So when I'm home with my kiddos, I'm home with my kiddos. And when I am working, then I am, I'm making the most of the hours that I have to work. And that doesn't mean it's perfect. And there's definitely a lot of like working at night or working in the morning before they wake up. But it works for this time in our lives.
Yeah, we talk a lot about seasons and like when, your seasons change, little people change so fast, right? So you have to be willing to be flexible, like you talked about earlier, and just like moving with it, doing what you got to do. And I love what you're talking about. You have these very clear expectations, like when I'm at work. I'm working, when I'm at home, I'm with my kids. And if you can combine them, of course, like you said, like that's wonderful. But like, so how did you communicate that with your clients and with your family? Like, and your friends, I guess, too, because, people around you.
Yeah. So I will say my husband is amazing. He is my biggest cheerleader, and also him and I have managed to create this kind of flow that really works for us. And so that might be, I'm with the kiddos in the morning, and then he picks them up from. We're very lucky. My mom watches my boys, and so he might be picking them up, and so that way we both can get some work time in and also some time with them. It looks different all the time, but I think communicating, my team at work knows my days that I'm working and my days that I'm not. My husband knows those days that I'm working and days that I'm not. And so I think just having those boundaries and communicating um, has made it easier. There's definitely times where I'm with the boys and I get a call from, one of my employees, and I have to shift some things and figure it out. But for the most part, um, everyone kind of knows, okay, these are the days that I'm able to dedicate toward work and answer your questions and do all those things. And then these are the days that I really set aside to just spend with my kiddos.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So it sounds like you're just very intentional with what you are telling. You're very clear with the people around you. And so if everybody knows, then nobody's confused. That's the best part, right? Okay, awesome.
Yes,
Yes,
easier
yes.
said than done, but yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely easier said than done. It is a practice that we continue to get better. It's a skill that we continue to practice. That's what I'm trying to say. There we go. All right. So, before we start wrapping everything up, you are offering the listeners a free guide, so a toddler speech and language milestone guide. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So one thing I noticed I was getting asked just all the time is like, hey, what should my toddler be doing? I'm not sure yet. I don't know if they're meeting their milestones or not. And I was getting it from, families I met at the park to families that I see in therapy. And so I created this toddler milestones guide, and it's really just like a couple page PDF. It goes through how many words, how much should I be understanding of my toddler, kind of what should they be understanding, what should they not, all of that good stuff. And it's all just in one place. So I think you said you dropped the link, but I also have it. I have a link on my social media. So my Instagram is simply speech underscore. You can find it there. And then you can also find it on my website, simplyspeechtherapy.org.
Awesome. Yeah. And we will link those in the description so everybody can find those super, super easy. So we are going to wrap it up, but I have one more question for you. If
Yes.
you were, it's just, there was one woman, she's a Christian mompreneur who has a business, she's raising these little kids. Like, what advice, one thing would you tell her?
Oh, that's tricky. I would just say be present in the moment. That's something that I strive for. And it's like I said, everything else, it is not always easy, but so much language and so much goodness happens when you are just completely present with your child. So that means, setting the phone aside. It means, turning off the TV that's playing on the background, like really just limiting distractions and engaging with your child in that moment. And it doesn't have to be in play. It can be in cooking a meal with them. It can be in doing the dishes with them nearby. It can be in a meal. But just being really, really present is such a huge impact.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us, Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you. This was so fun.
Absolutely.